If you look at the reviews of Baldur Gate 3, most players would agree to tell you that it's an extraordinary game, that it revolutionizes the RPG genre, or even that it dethroned a good number of other works, rising to the rank of GOTY 2023. And yet, I see as many people say, careful, this game isn't for everyone. I call this the Elden Ring effect. To put it simply, it's this effect where we no longer used to good games that are challenging, and that require a bit more effort to be appreciated. As a result, we believe that good games are not made for everyone. So, basically, you keep consuming the fast food AAA games because you don't know how to appreciate the fine wines. But today, we're not here to discuss that. If you're interested in the topic, I recently made a video about it. I'll let you go watch that if you want. And feel free to subscribe if you like this kind of content. It encourages me to create more. For this video, my goal is, despite all of what you've heard about Baldur's Gate 3, to convince you to play it. And to do that, I'm gonna debunk something that's been said about it. Because yes, Baldur's Gate 3 is a good game that has a strong chance to please you. Not saying it will appeal to everyone, but it deserves a chance to prove itself. We'll start with the combat mode. You should know that I don't particularly enjoy turn-based games. Looking at classic examples, I've played Pokemon, and I didn't go far into making me appreciate this genre. I did enjoy playing games like Persona or Golden Sun, but I must say that it was a story that carried me through. So, even though I don't really like turn-based games, why do I really enjoy the combat in Baldur's Gate? First of all, because when we imagine a turn-based game, we expect something like this. Whereas, Baldur's Gate looks closer to this. We can all agree that Pokemon and XCOM are not the same thing. Personally, I see Baldur's Gate more as a blend of these two mechanics. And so, even though it's quite rare for a game, it's able to appeal to both niches by offering incredible possibilities in combat. Baldur's Gate started out for me in my gaming experience because it reminds me of strategy games, conquest games where you control an army. It's literally one of my favorite game genres, taking a well-known recipe and reinventing it to create something new. And this holds true for other genres as well. For instance, if you enjoy stealth games, closer to the old Hitman titles, you have plenty of that to enjoy here. All of this is made possible because in Baldur's Gate, you can play with the positioning of the characters in the environment. I can plan an infiltration just as I can optimize the movement of my enemies to punish them, using elements of the surroundings. For example, I can eliminate sentinels and isolated enemies with an assassin, and then clear the rest of the area with a group of heavy hitters who deal massive damage. If you love spending hours building a character, figuring out if a certain ability or spell will give you an extra 0.5% damage for every 3 attacks, then this game is definitely for you. Now, if you're more like me, and just the thought of playing a wizard in an RPG feels like a big pain in the ass, then I understand why you might not be very eager to play it. Nevertheless, here I am to tell you to play it. And that's because, even with its unappealing interface, that you quickly find yourself calculating some things. And nothing warns you when you make a choice that might ruin your character. Despite all that, I have an alternative. As I mentioned before, infiltration. Why not? The environment and my inventory are good allies to help me in a dire situation. Contrary to what some will want you to believe, it's not all about character optimization and knowledge of spells. Sometimes, all it takes is a bit of cleverness in your approach. And even a more powerful enemy won't last long. It's up to you to find your own way to play. And sometimes, the best way to win is to not fight at all. And despite all of this, if you think that it's still too complicated, well, I have 2 solutions for you. First, there are builds available on the internet with advice to help you in your adventure. Second, Larian has created a very good difficulty mode that completely modifies the level design to assist you during your adventure. So, if you go with an easier mode, not only will the enemy be easier to defeat, the environment will be there to assist you as well. Let's move on to role-playing. A game inspired by a role-playing game that adopts the rules and the universe condensed into a book appreciated by only a small community of role players among gamers. Not only that, it happens to be the third installment of a saga that's been around for 20 years already. Doesn't sound so great on paper. Not at all. Yes, Baldur's Gate doesn't really hold your hand. And you might be frustrated when after 20 hours of playing, you start to understand what a saving throw is or how a concentration spell works. But just because you're not familiar with the mechanics, doesn't mean your game will be ruined. Once again, the internet can provide you with a plethora of guides and advice. For me, even with just the bare minimum, I simply learn from my mistakes. The game's logic will eventually become clear to you, even if it's clearly more comfortable to start the adventure already familiar with the rule of the 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons, or at least some specificities of the universe. It's entirely playable and enjoyable even without that. And the best way to fill these gaps is very simple. Read the numerous books scattered all over the map to enhance your knowledge of the lore. These books are also far from being long compared to games like Skyrim. Talk to NPCs, explore the map, and read the race specificities in the beginning of the game. Then you'll be more than capable of getting by. As for the game rules and combat system, the main thing to understand is that you have stats, and everything is played with dice rolls. The better your stats, the more likely you are to succeed in your role. For the rest, just experiment, make mistakes, and do a quick Google search. And you won't need anything more to embark on this adventure. So, we arrive at the very core of Baldur's Gate, which aims to be an extension of the D&D universe, and so necessarily works with the rules of a tabletop RPG. I get that it can be frustrating when you have a 75 or 90% chance to hit an opponent and you miss 2 or more times in a row. I understand that it's annoying when you deal the minimum damage with one of your character's best attacks throughout the whole combat. It sucks. I've been a role player. I've participated in a few campaigns and many one-shot sessions, and I believe that the dice, though frustrating at times, is an essential element of a role-playing session. Now, there is a story behind every critical success or failure in a game. Sometimes, a crazy explanation or a character's clumsiness. And this makes me believe that yeah, it makes sense that against a level 1 goblin, my level 4 rogue just hung her cape to the window, got distracted, and ended up getting stabbed. Unfortunately, we have to be realistic and understand that Larian can't hire another rider just to handle the consequences of dice rolled in the adventure. It's a shame because the dice roll then appears more as a punishment or an annoying thing rather than a genuine interaction with the universe. So yes, rolling dice can be frustrating, but it won't make me stop playing the game. Just as it shouldn't stop you from giving it a try. Just see that when it becomes too bothersome, you have quick saves, so make use of them. Lastly, we have the open world. Baldur's Gate won't hold your hand and put you through a dull 20-minute tutorial to explain its mechanics. It won't offer you a minimap filled with empty side quests and mysterious interaction points that you don't even want to bother with. It won't guide you more than necessary on the resolution of its main quest, or force you into 10 monster hunts or uninteresting looting just to level up. It's also not an open world game like Breath of the Wild that encourages exploration, but more of a semi-open world that will draw you into a rich and diverse narrative and make you lose your way. Baldur's Gate is like a mermaid. It will charm you with its looks, sing you a beautiful song to lead you deeper into its horrifying and nauseating depths. And believe it or not, everything that I'm telling you about the game is positive. Don't be scared to embark on this adventure because Baldur's Gate is a bit different. That's why it's charming. Soon enough, you will see that it's not as demanding as some might say. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a little thumbs up if you do. Feel free to share it with your family and friends who might be concerned by it. Subscribe and see you soon.